All right, welcome back everyone. After a long hiatus, I know it's been a while, but welcome back to Jesus on a Jon Boat, where we talk about testimonies and stories. And today we have a special guest. Tell him your name.
Hi, I'm Jayden Ingormis.
This is Pastor Jayden. We've gotten to work together. He's been working and he's got hired on our conference, and he's been working with my senior pastor and I at Highland. It's been awesome having him. But yeah, guys, we're going to get right to it. We're going to fish. We are on the pond. We are in the Love Moss Farm Pond. And we just want to see if we can get a fish today, at least one. And you know, as we're getting it all going. But guys, we're going to get right into the conversation. And like I always say to every guest, just like Jesus was in the disciples' boat, he's in our boat too. So the question is, what is it look like for Jesus to be in your boat, in your life, in your story? And that's what we'll do. Guys, we're going to do a little something different today. I'm going to be off the camera. We're going to have him fish. I'm going to be talking to him. You're going to keep hearing me, but we're going to focus on his story because it's all about what God is doing through him today, through Pastor Jayden. So stay with us. All right, Pastor Jayden.
All right. So just go ahead.
Yeah. You can just jump on in. And we're just going to be fishing around.
We're using a green pumpkin Senko worm today.
Okay.
But yeah, what it means to have Jesus in our boat, you know, with us. Oh, and we got stuck in a tree. A little too high.
You got it.
But, you know, when...
Right off the bat, we're getting stuck in trees.
We can get it. Okay, one second, y'all. Might lose this worm.
Uh-oh, I think I hear it coming in. There it is. Did you lose?
It broke in half.
Just the worm. All right, we're gonna reset with the worm, and then we'll jump back in.
All right, 1 second here. Grab this worm. I think I have like 2 left.
I can probably got a few in my bag as well. Guys, this is the real deal. This happens. You get snagged up sometimes, but you get back up, right, Pastor Jayden?
Yes, sir. This is the, you know, first cast. I'm pretty unlucky with the first cast, but I know we're gonna make a comeback here. But like we were mentioning before, what it means to have Jesus on my boat. So I have just graduated from Southern Adventist University. It's an amazing school, amazing institution. And it's been a lot of fun to be at that school and to learn more about Jesus. And kind of, you know, even before I went to Southern and pursued ministry, what really had me with Jesus on the boat in specific was making Jesus as personal as possible, especially through prayer. Now, when we think about prayer, in different ways. You know, we can easily turn to Matthew 5, and we say, yes, the Lord's Prayer, that's really good. We can talk about eating before a meal. We can talk about praying before a meal, or praying before, you know, when you get up in the morning or before you go to sleep at night. But what really made Jesus really be in the boat for me was a much more personal prayer at that. See, the Bible talks about, and even Ellen White, she talks about how prayer is such a personal thing that you have with God. And most importantly, it's a conversation that you have. And because it's a conversation, what better way to, you know, go about your day than to continually and always pray? If it's a conversation with the Lord, then you can spark that conversation at any moment in your life. You see, before I really took ministry serious in my life, I was living a life that was without that communication. I was living a life that was, you know, outside of being, you know, in a relationship with God. But throughout my life and throughout the opportunity of actually canvassing, I was able to understand what it means to personalize and really connect with God.
Real quick, before you dive deep into canvassing, well, like, can you just give a quick, what is canvassing for those? I mean, we may have some viewers that aren't in this world that we know, and what, just real quick, what is canvassing?
So canvassing is basically this Adventist program where we go door to door sharing literature on a donation basis in order to help fund our school, but also at the same time spread the gospel to our communities wherever we're canvassing at. And so we literally go door to door, and we have different books about health, about devotions, about Bible study that we share with the people that donate in order to receive these books. And it's one of those programs where it really puts your faith to the test, because the communities that you visit are not always kind. You know, people, especially nowadays, don't like when someone shows up to the door selling something. But the Lord provides through this work, which is why prayer is such an important part of my life, is because of canvassing. You see, one of the main things that we teach in canvassing is that your prayer life is the most important. As a matter of fact, it's so important that, it's embedded every time you talk to a person, before you talk to a person, before you even start walking, before you even, start your drop and start talking to people, prayer is embedded. And that's what changed it for me. You see, it became more than, Jesus, I need you to help me with this. Or Jesus, can you help this person, understand the Bible more? Or Jesus, can you help me get a Bible study at this house? Jesus, can you help me hit my book goal? Jesus, can you bless this food? Jesus, can you, protect me as I sleep, protect me as I'm traveling? It's actually so much more than that. I remember one day, as I was canvassing, there was this lady. She was really nice. I talked to her and she said, "Oh yeah, I don't have any money, but I really love what you do. Would you like me to get you some water?" I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be good. She went inside and she grabbed 2 water bottles. She's like, "Oh, here's one for you. And I don't know where your friend went, but here's one for him too." And again, I was at this house by myself. So it was crazy to me. And it just reminded me that maybe Jesus was walking with me right beside me, or someone was walking me, guiding me through that. The thing is after that moment, after that experience, I didn't pretend actually, I prayed as if Jesus was right next to me. And it was not a prayer of asking Jesus, but literally conversating with him. Some may say you might be just talking to a wall, Jayden, right? That you might just be talking to whoever and you're just making up voices in your head in order for you to supply whatever you need at that moment. But it's actually so much more than that. You see, when I prayed, I asked Jesus, and I talked to Jesus about my problems. Like, "Hey God, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with, a temptation. I'm struggling with a relationship. I'm struggling with my family. Talk me about it. Talk with me about it." I would talk to Jesus and say, "Hey, this weather is so good today. It's so beautiful that I'm able to see your nature." And I would conversate with him as if he was right next to me. And I want to show you that he was right next to me. Throughout my life, especially throughout the toughest moments, Jesus became even more real. And having these conversations with him on a daily basis, but on a personal level, really helped me understand that Jesus was actually in the boat with me. That I wasn't going through my life alone, that, he was actually right beside me. The beautiful thing about serving a creator and being with Jesus, who is always by your side, is that you can talk to him whenever you want. But what is your conversation like with him? That's a hard question I had to ask myself before I started, getting into this personal prayer life. And so that was really when my spiritual life took a huge turn. When I canvassed, I prayed a lot more. My relationship with Jesus became a lot more real. And the issues that I had with my life were just as easy as just asking Jesus in that moment to be with me. I think it's so easy for us, especially, to not do that. And again, I am guilty of that as well in my spiritual life. And the reason why is because when we face tribulations in our life, it's so easy for us to start looking sideways. When Isaiah 41 verse 10 says, "Fear not and be not dismayed," the word dismayed there means looking back and forth, looking frantically. So in other words, it's a word that focuses on us panicking. So when Isaiah is talking about be not dismayed, he tells us not to panic. He tells us not to look around. He tells us not to try to figure out solutions on our own. Instead, he tells us to look up to God first. Maybe in your spiritual life, you may have a tendency, because I have a huge tendency of doing that as well, of going to my personal power, conviction, and what I think I could do myself. But I want to let you know that in order for Jesus to be in the boat, you got to allow him to be in the boat with you. You got to ask him to be alongside you. You have to invite him to the boat. Jesus is not going to force himself upon your situation or upon your ideals or upon your circumstances. But if you ask him, especially when it comes to personal prayer, I promise that he's going to be there.
So when it was early on, like how into canvas, like were you always bought into canvassing, or did you kind of go in, like everyone has a different story of how they get into it. And I asked this because you're talking about a deeper relational, like most people would say, man, like I want to find God in like the really obvious spiritual places, like the church, the you know, we've talked about that, but in your case, was it something that you're like, man, did you already have an attitude of like, no, I know I can find God in the ordinary. I know I can find God, like, or were you just like, man, I just need money and I'm a spiritual guy? Like, what was your real setup in the beginning? And then it turned into this beautiful journey. But like, was the beginning always like that? Were you always bought in, or were you kind of like, we'll see how this goes? Like, what was your take?
Actually, no. And just to give you a brief testimony of why I got into canvassing, I actually was living an entirely different lifestyle than I'm living now. See, I was a sophomore in high school, and I was skipping class, you know, going to parties, doing drugs, drinking, doing all that stuff because I thought that was going to make me happy. And funny enough, I thought that's the place where I could find connection and where I can communicate well with my friends. And I remember being so knee deep into all of this stuff. And one of my friends, his name is Derwin. He's a huge reason why I canvassed. Derwin was one of my main spiritual examples in my life. And I remember during winter break, again, this is right in the middle of my sophomore year of high school. During winter break, one second.
What is that?
Look at that. We got a little bash.
My boy got a bash.
Hey, look at this little
guys. This is legendary moments in the making. On the pod for the first time ever on Jesus on a Jon Boat, we finally got a fish. Man.
Look at this tiny one.
Congratulations, brother. That's awesome.
Thank you. Hey, Senkos never fail.
Oh man, dude, I totally got lost in the fish. Where were we?
So I was telling you part of my testimony, and I was telling you how, like, right in the middle of my sophomore year, during my winter break, one of my good friends, Derwin, he actually told me about this summer program. And I remember it was a Sabbath. I was helping up there in the AV booth, and he was telling me, he's like, Jayden, hey, do you want to be a part of a summer program? And I was like, what is this summer program? You know, what does it do? What is it all about? He's like, oh, we sell books. And he briefly told me about it. Again, he didn't tell me about it in detail. I was like, yeah, you know what? Sign me up, whatever. The next semester, it was my worst semester. I skipped all my classes. And by the end of the semester, my parents actually found out that my grades were horrible. And so because of that, there was chaos in my house. Again, one of their kids, addicted to drugs. I confessed to them what was going on, was engaged on all this activity, and it was just a mess in my house.
Now, which out of all the siblings, which one are you? Like middle?
I'm the middle. I'm the second child.
So were you at this point, were you the most problematic at this point? Or were you like, how many of the kids were giving them a hard time?
So I was, well, my older brother also gave him a hard time, but I was actually more of the golden child in my family.
So that's what I'm saying. That made it even such a bigger blow for them because it was so unexpected.
It was very unexpected.
Okay.
It was a huge blow for my family, for my parents. The disappointment in their eyes, I can't even explain it to you. And so chaos ensued in my house. Little did I know, 1 week later, I would be driving or flying to Salt Lake City to start my first week of canvassing. Not only was it a healthy escape for me to spend time away from my family because of how chaotic it was, but also it was just an amazing time to just to grow in my spiritual life. So the timing was actually great. I was able to spend that summer, understand Jesus personally in my life, become transformed through personal prayer. And that marked the moment where I fell in love with canvassing, fell in love with Jesus, and came back to him after that. After that, not only did my relationships with my parents heal, but also my motivation to pursue ministry also came. And from that point on, without looking back, I decided to pursue ministry full time, even as a junior in college. And I did 5 summers of canvassing after that.
Wait, so you were a junior in high school or college?
Sorry, junior in high school.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Awesome.
Junior in high school, from that point on, even though I was not in college yet, I still wanted to pursue ministry as much as I could. And so that's essentially what happened. That's my story and the reason why I pursue ministry today. After that, I've completed 5 summers of canvassing.
Wow.
I could probably say that is probably one of my favorite work. And if I could, and if I had enough free time to do it, I still would. But it taught me the personal connection that I could have with Jesus. You see, all those parties and all those drinks, I felt empty inside. But when I figured out how to pray and have Jesus right by my side, I can tell you that brought me more fulfillment than any of those parties could ever any of those feelings that I had. And most importantly, it gave me the best friend, my truest friend, who could be with me right by my side no matter where I am. So
awesome. You got another one in there, brother?
Ooh, I felt a bite.
You felt the bite. He got me excited. Oh.
I'm just gonna let it fall a little bit.
So you are kind of our first guest. Well, firstly, thank you so much, man. That is an amazing story.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talked a little bit, but I think this is the first time you really like unpacked it a little bit more for me. And it's cool. Like my wife was a canvasser, and like you meet like canvassers are canvassers. Like it's like you guys are y'all. Like y'all, you know. And there's a range. You know, there's a range, right?
Yeah.
Like, but it's powerful. Because you guys have such an outlook on life and ministry that is so profoundly unique and just special. You know, when I see you guys join into a room together, oh, you can't, like, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like the same depth of when people say, oh, like, you were in the Army? Like, what thing were you in? Or like, or you were you played high school football? Like, what coach? You know what I'm saying? Like, It's always like this deep, profound, like y'all look each other in the eye like, oh, I know what you know. I know what you've been there. So it's almost like if you know kind of a group. But like, it's cool to see, cause like, I don't know, I think I had my own kind of like misconceptions or kind of like, and I wasn't too I wasn't never negative about it, but I just was like, oh, that's not for me, kind of a thing. What are some of the general things like people, like, cause again, this is a whole podcast about contextualization and like how to find unique experiences in ministry and how to live out these things and find Jesus in your boat no matter what you're doing, ordinary or extraordinary moments, right? Yeah. But for you, what were some of the things you thought about canvassing, whether positive or constructive, I guess, or did you always feel like you had a positive, or you just didn't know anything about it and you're just like, I'm just gonna try it? Like, how was it for you? Yeah, so the reason why I kept moving forward is because people were still so hungry for the Word of God. A lot of things that happen when canvassing, again, we're bringing books, paperback books to doors. And people may say, oh, we live in the 21st century. We don't use books like that anymore. Yet the people that we meet at the doors are so hungry for it that it makes no sense why in this 21st century they would be so hungry for it. And so throughout every single summer, God proved me wrong and showed me that people were still in need of His Word. You know, I had the privilege of doing most of my summer canvassing in Colorado. And, you know, it's a very, you can say it's a very niche thing. It's a very specific thing to, ministry. But I would say that I would invite everyone to try it at least once. But I will say that it's not necessary for everyone. And that's okay. You see, the thing about being in the boat with Jesus is that we're on in all different types of boat. It could be, a boat of ministry to do summer camp. It could be a boat of ministry to do canvassing. It could be a boat of ministry for fishing. It could be a boat of ministry for small groups. Whatever the case is, the reason why it became such a personal connection to me is because I found passion in doing the Lord's work. You see, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to finding your niche ministry or something that you feel passionate about when it comes to ministry, is having the heart to serve. Gotcha. And that's what canvassing taught me to do, is to serve. And so because of that, I was able to really connect with it well. But if you're willing to serve and share the love with other people, whatever ministry that you get into, I know God is going to bless. And I know the testimony that you have because of it is going to be a testimony you can share on your own, not influenced by, what other people say about you, but instead a personal proclamation that God has been good in your life and has been using you. So I'm very passionate about helping other people find, their passion for ministry. Oh shoot, I knew that was going to happen. We have some snags as well. Guys, this is real life. We don't do cuts here. Whoa. We don't do nothing. We don't take nothing out, right? Yes, we do not. And we lost our worm. We keep it live and worm. Let me see if I can do it. I got it in my pocket. No, I do not. Oh, let's walk this way and we'll hit the other side. So in moving forward, is there anything like, now you don't have as much time because you're full-time pastoring, but like with everything that you've learned, is there anything unique in ministry that you're like, I feel like I want to pursue now, because you're heading up to seminary, right? Yeah, I'm going to Andrews this coming fall. So is there any, like, because you have that framework, because you have that open-mindedness, because of everything you experienced, what's something that you feel like this summer that's like been put on your heart that you're like, okay, I want to pursue this experience with God and like try something new and different out of your comfort zone for ministry purposes? Like, is there anything like that on you right now? Yeah, actually, I know this might sound broad, but young adult ministry.
The reason why I say that is because I used to pastor. I did 1 year of being a youth pastor in Hawaii. I had the privilege of doing that as my mission year. But one of the most difficult ministries, even past that year and for my time at Southern, is young adult ministries. It's so hard to get young adults on the same basis because, you know, we're all young professionals. We have our jobs, we have our duties, we're independent, and so we kind of run at our own time. Yet what's so fascinating is that those young adults who are, you know, my age, who are dedicated to ministry and to serving God, like, it's not just a fire, it's a blazing furnace. It's a bonfire almost of young adults who are willing to put in the work. Like, the dedication that I've seen for those who are bought into the mission have been so beautiful. And most importantly, it's sparked hope in my life that God is really going to work through the young people, through us young adults. And that's why it's become such a passionate ministry of mine, is because I had the privilege of serving and helping young adult ministries when it came to Southern. I had the privilege of doing that when I was in Hawaii, but man, I can't wait to see what God is going to do next for the young adults here. What I started to notice too is that these young adults were in search of something that was genuine. You see, they wanted something that was real and original. And so when they found that within Jesus Christ and the mission, you know, to share the love and to be a part of this movement, they were dedicated. It's hard to take away, you know, that genuine love to serve God through young adult ministry. Now, the way that the way I like to do it through music. That's a very specific avenue that I feel God is calling me towards. Bible study. Oh my goodness. Bible study about real things, like Bible study about real topics. Being Adventist, it's been so easy to lose sight of what being Adventist means, right? We can easily call ourselves Adventists, but when we talk about what about the Sabbath? You know, what about this? And the contradictions of our faith, it becomes very easy to lose our foundation. So having studies on who we are and our identity has been so beneficial. So these are just a couple of examples that I've experienced and have led out in my personal life when it comes to ministry. And I know God is going to continue to pave the way for that. But that's for right now, at least.
One area that you and I have bonded as I've gotten to know you, and I love it, and I do see that reign true. So like this summer, like him and I got to work together in something that in the Adventist church called camp meeting. It's pretty much like almost like for those of you guys aren't the ones who don't do church life too much often. It's like a convention in its own way. It's a special get together once a year, right? I mean, how would we put this? Like a Christian Adventist Comic-Con almost of sorts, but more spiritual. Not
imagine, if a bunch of churches got together in one place for a week, and this place involved camping. So that's essentially what it is, and we had the privilege of doing that together. Yeah, Pastor Mikey and I, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. We worked in specific with juniors, so age ranges from it's just middle school age ranges. And it was such a blessing to, work with the kids and to help them grow their knowledge about Jesus, but also just to help them understand how to proclaim God.
Yeah.
And so it's been wonderful.
But I say that because I was saying all the things you were just pouring out about hey, young adult ministry, the music, I just got to see that reign true, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
But there was another aspect as you and I have gotten to know each other that really touched me, because I find it hard as you get deeper into theology and deeper into things. There's a lot of debate on where this next topic I'm going to bring up, where we place it and how we should hold it. And that is culture. Mm-hmm. You are someone who's man, right away, like me, very passionate about your culture, but also very passionately, above all, a follower of Jesus, of course. Mm-hmm. But you find a balance of knowing, I know this is not my my home. I know that, the classic things that we all know, I'm a citizen of heaven, but yet I can experience something nuanced about my experience, and knowing that I'm sharing Christ in my own, the place that God has put me in your culture. Can you explain a little bit describe your culture a bit, and then explain where did you find that balance? And do you know what I'm talking about when it comes to how some people I feel when some people don't want to deal with culture, it makes them uncomfortable, they'll say a lot of Christianese about it, if I'm being honest. They'll say a lot of things we shouldn't worry about culture things here. Whenever, whether it's political or whether it's whatever, it's just uncomfortable for people, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think sometimes we fall behind some of these sayings to not engage with culture in a contextual, beautiful, gospel-centered way, because I think there is a balance, and I think you have shown me that. So that's a long-winded question, but what are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
so culture is actually so important because it's the way that we interpret different things. And there's going to come a point in time where, in your spiritual walk or wherever you are, sorry, I just saw a bass. Wherever you are in your spiritual walk, that you have to address culture. Culture is the way we interpret different things, okay? Being an Indonesian myself and having this culture around me, I've been growing up in Indonesia my entire life, and as an Indonesian Christian, I have a lot of culture embedded with the way that I do ministry. For example, Indonesians, they're pretty traditional, right? And what I mean by traditional is they are very, doctrinally motivated. If you don't know what that means, is that, if there are certain teachings, they're going to try to stick by it practically.
Yeah.
But not realistically sometimes. And, there are times where tradition can overtake what the gospel is trying to share. And you have to just get in touch with cultural reality. Like the way that we do things here in America is way different than, someone is a Christian that's in Africa, right? And to be able to address that cultural difference is so important. And to even talk about the culture of Christianity in America is its own thing. Like for me to say that the culture of Christianity in America is right is actually, how do I say, unfair. Because if I were to say that the culture of Christianity in America is right, then what about the other types of Christianity culture in different countries?
Wow.
Culture is more than just, language and nation. It's community. It's what society paints it to be. It's the people that make it, who are influenced by their language, by their food, by their ethnicity, by their diversity, whatever the case is. That's what develops and makes culture. And for us to be able to understand where Christianity stands in culture is so real and relevant. For us to say that culture has nothing to do with our Christianity, we're kind of, shooting ourselves in the foot there. Because if you actually think about it, yeah, it influences the way we do things. For example, in Indonesia, I had the privilege of joining a Pentecostal church on a Sunday. And the way that they do music, right, is a very similar way that they've done in America, right? The contemporary Christian music. And because of that, since it's different, it shows me that their culture has adapted our culture, but it was not always like that. It was not always like that. It was very traditional, stuck to hymns. And so, basically, it showed that the Indonesian culture and this Christian church were bought into this culture of Christianity. Yet I will say that it was still different than American Christianity and the culture. So it influences so many things, right? And it influences the way that we think, influences the way that we do ministry. But we have to be able to be confident in the fact that we need to research culture because it affects the way we interpret things. I know that probably what I'm sharing may be vague, but not many people are engaging in the culture. Engaging in the culture doesn't mean changing, values of the Bible. It means staying relevant to the community and society that you're with. In order to say the importance of staying relevant is because, Christianity is relevant. It's so relevant to our needs today. We just have to understand where Christianity meets that needs, especially when it comes to culture. So
awesome. Dude, hit up this spot right here. And it might be Snack City, but usually Snack City could also mean big opportunities.
All right, I'm gonna try my best.
So he's gonna hit that there. No, I thank you for sharing that because I struggled with that for a long time. I was someone who very passionately Puerto Rican, very passionately, just who I am and how I grew up. And but I also know all those other things, like, my senior pastor says something awesome all the time. Both things can be true kind of a thing. Like, yes, we can enjoy the culture.
I knew it.
Did you get a Snack City?
I got another snag. Oh my goodness.
Oh, we're pulling limbs out. You got the big one.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do something.
Ooh, good save. So yeah, it's awesome because you're saying, like so many things can be true. Like, yes, we're still living out the kingdom is first for us. But how we share and how we live that out is very unique and nuanced and beautiful. Like, I believe the disciples did that. I believe even Jesus did that. He came to a specific culture, to a specific time, and and he gave them something powerful through their own cultures. He used stories that were connected to their culture. He used idioms that were connected to their culture.
Oh yeah.
He ate food with them that was specific. He didn't like bring down manna and said, I can only eat manna with them down on earth, right? Like, so for me, it's just powerful just to meet somebody that like wants to do it balanced. Because I feel like sometimes you can go both ways. You can go super deep into the culture only and like kind of lose yourself and never really, you know, lose what God is trying to do as well. And then you can also over Christianize it or overdo it to the point where like you don't experience anything beautiful. Oh. He got a decent one. Ooh. I told you Snack City provides.
So worth it.
That's awesome.
Let's go.
Man. That's a decent one. For this pond, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh.
Feisty.
You gonna save some for me? No, I'm just kidding. This is awesome, dude. You are the first person on the pod. Now 2 fish, so now you're breaking record. Now the next person, whoever is our next guest, has to break your record.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, man, I really think that it's beautiful what you're saying about, you know, balancing and also being able to sit with cultures that aren't always, well, let's let you have a moment. Look
at that. Nice little bass. Very beautiful. Nice and green.
Nice. Yeah, I just love that the care you bring, the way you treat, you know, sometimes even older people within certain communities, and how you like, hey, I try to really be understanding of their perspectives. Just being a person, a lifelong learner, someone who is willing to embrace cultures, and really just be a person that doesn't try to pigeonhole the culture, like force a culture to be something it's not. I think it's a beautiful thing that you're saying, hey, I want to sit in whatever this is. When you come to a new culture, you and I have come to the South. so it's a, you know, that's its own beautiful culture, right? And we respect it and we enjoy it. And we're doing some kind of Southern things right now. We're fishing,
Southern things.
We're fishing in the pond, baby. So, you know, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
We don't have to let it, oh, I have to be confined to this only culture. No, realize that I believe that the citizenship of heaven means that there's going to be every nation and tongue in it. And that's what makes it. It's people, redeemed people from all nations and tongues.
Yeah.
And the stories we're going to hear in heaven of how God, literally this podcast, I have a vision that this podcast will be seen like that in heaven. Like not this podcast literally, but you know what I mean? Like the stories that will be shared for all of eternity are testimonies of saying, man, God found me in this city, in a concrete jungle. Oh, God found me in a literal jungle. Oh, God found me in a town or a village, or he found, you know, like it can't be that the way you found Jesus is the only way to find Jesus. Because then we limit the Holy Spirit. We limit what God is actually trying to do.
Oh yeah, God works in so many different ways, and the Holy Spirit works in so many different ways. That's why, you know, when we talk about culture, when we talk about the older generation, it's wrong for us to rip them out of what they believe to be true their entire lives. Right? And that's where, as a younger generation, can be the temptation, right? To be like, you know what, this is what's working, this is what's relevant, and this is what's bringing people to Christ. But that does not make us better in our walk with Jesus compared to the older generation.
Hey, yo, and vice versa.
And vice versa, of course, you know. And the thing is, and the reason why I see it as an issue is because we blame them for criticizing us, where there are times where we criticize them.
Yes,
and
sir.
so it's like this two-way circle, two sides of the same coin of selfishness. And so, you know, I hope and pray that we can be genuine in our experience, in our unique experience with God, especially respecting the different experience that people have. Whether they're older generation or they're newer generation, God works in wonderful ways, in ways that we'll never understand. You know, I had no idea that God would work in the way that He's done in my life. So it's hard for me to criticize and judge someone for God being able to work through them, whether it comes through music ministry, whether it comes through, you know, the different churches, whether it comes through a sermon. God can work powerfully in so many different ways. We just have to be open to that.
So Jayden, I love your story. I think we've had a beautiful conversation. I think we've gotten a few different layers. I think you used canvassing, you used culture, you used particular callings within music and young adult ministry. I think we can see a beautiful boat. I think we can see how God is sitting in a beautiful experience. I know for me, my boat, I call it for the podcast, I sit in a Jon Boat. What kind of boat do you call your boat? Just before we end here, what's your boat?
Hold on.
You got a fish? Are you getting them? Oh my goodness, that's 3 in a row.
Look at this
Jayden,
one.
what are you feeding them? Did you put something in the water before you came here?
I think we prayed over it. That's
We
why.
prayed over it. Hey. Oh, that's the thing you said in the beginning. Prayer. So prayer, canvassing, young adult ministry, music, culture. We got it, man. So is yours a Jon Boat too now? It looks like you're Jon Boat, or you're like a bass boat right now.
It might be a bass boat.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it might be a bass boat here. But I don't know what I would title my boat. I would title my boat maybe a Peter boat. When Jesus called Peter and Andrew, they were in a boat and they were fishing and they couldn't find anything. I think that there is beauty when we continue to connect with Jesus through our waiting. So I think that, I didn't to say this before, but my experience with Jesus was also through the silence. And maybe that's your experience today. I don't know. But there's something beautiful about waiting in that silence, because Jesus always has something powerful just around the corner. And I know he for sure did when it came to Peter and Andrew. Something that they were not expecting. And conversion, an opportunity, an experience, I don't know. But who knows? That's what I would title mine, the Peter boat. Peter and Andrew. PA boat, maybe. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the pod, brother. I'm going to let you, I know you're in the fishing right now. You're in the zone. Man, it's awesome. We set out for one goal, to be the first person to get a fish. You got 3. It's going to be hard to beat on camera, at least on this pod so far. But I just thank you, man. Thank you again for telling and just sharing your story and what God is doing through you. Man, I'm just excited. You're in the same conference, so we'll be seeing each other a lot more.
Yeah, we'll be seeing each other real soon.
It's super awesome. And man, congratulations. He's about to get married, y'all.
Yeah,
shout out.
Locked up here.
And he's about to head to seminary. A lot going on this summer, but man, I'm excited to see what God is going to do. All right, guys, it was awesome. This is one of my favorite pods, just filming this time so far. If you guys like the content, we're going to keep coming back with more. I know we were gone for a little bit. Thank you for those of you who are staying strong and following. We got a vlog out now. We've got the farm. I mean, this was all filmed. This is the first pod on the pond, and he's proving we have fish, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep telling the story of what God is doing on this, and that we can see what's happening in this Jon Boat. And guys, just remember, the same way he was in the disciples' boat, he's in your boat. So like, share, subscribe, join us on this journey. And yeah, any comments, anything you'd like to share, we'll see you next time.